began her meditation practice in 2001, sitting with the flowing river Sangha in northeastern Pennsylvania. She became a Dharma holder in 2009 and continued to study with Sentai Barbara Shoshin Craig, receiving transmission in 2017. Now, I don't know what receiving transmission means, because I kind of hear transmissions being transmitted. So I clearly know what it means. So you need to tell us when you speak. Her Dharma name is Dong Jen, which means insightful. And she'll be speaking today on aging as a spiritual practice from a Zen perspective, with guidance from Lewis Richmond's book, Aging as a Spiritual Practice. Judy will explore with us how the foundational concepts of impermanence and the Noble Eightfold Path can support the aging process. And Judy will be leading us in the meditation, and then we'll be doing our message a little bit. Thank you.
So good to see everybody. This is just the meditation, so I'm going to read the script here that normally goes with this. To prepare for a short meditation, sit comfortably tall. Allow your eyes to gently close if you're comfortable with that. If not, you can just lower your eyes. Simply breathe naturally. Notice your breaths ebb and flow like the ocean waves, perfect just as it is. In this moment, in this place, in this your sacred space, let your mind rest here. There is nothing you need to do. While you stay in this quiet manner, I'm going to share with you a chant that our Sangha says at the end of each sitting period. Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by, and opportunity is lost. Each of us should strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed. This day, your days are diminished by one. Do not squander your life. Just sit for a few minutes with that. Thanks, everyone, for allowing me to speak today. One of the responsibilities as a Zen teacher is, of course, to try to encourage people to broaden their perspectives and be open to other ways of looking at things. So this kind of talk is a way for me to do that, so I appreciate that opportunity. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no escaping old age. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I am of the nature to be ill. There is no escaping illness. I am of the nature to die. There is no escaping death. Everything and everyone I love will change, and I will be separated from them. My actions are my only true possessions. There is no escaping the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. These are called the 5 remembrances, which I recite as part of my Zen practice every morning. They remind me that life is impermanent, and every action triggers the consequence. There is no escaping impermanence. The This is a foundational belief of Buddhist practice. I am not a Buddhist. I am a Zen meditation teacher and a practitioner. And just to digress for a moment, receiving transmission in Zen is basically finding a teacher, and if you decide to become a teacher, working with that teacher for as long as you both determine is necessary. And then the teacher is basically passing the Dharma to you, the truth. And it's a long lineage that my particular teacher comes from. And that's a talk for another day. That's what receiving transmission is. Our meditation practice, Zen meditation, is steeped in the principles of Buddhism. The closing chant, the one that we just sat with today, is said at the end of each sitting as a clear reminder of the fact of impermanence and aging. Aging provides us with the ultimate opportunity to understand impermanence. It may be as simple as looking in the mirror, or as significant as losing a loved one. Life changes constantly, and depending on how we choose to react to these changes, our life can be, as we age, bring us more suffering or bring us peace. Lewis Richmond, a Zen teacher who has authored books on aging as a spiritual practice, says, quote, "Aging is the essence of what the Buddha taught. Not only that, but what he taught was that we need to live our life in accordance with reality, not with opinions, not with speculations, not with doctrines. We need to create a path for life that is in accord with how things actually are. In order to actually embrace and enjoy the stage of being an older person, of coming toward the end of life, you need to have a grounding and basis in what reality is." End quote. You may be familiar with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's work on death and grief, when she detailed the process we travel when we have a loss. Lewis Richmond describes a similar process about aging in his book. He identifies 4 stages. This is one of the things I love about Buddhism. We love our lists, and I'm a big list person, so this is, brings me right to feel comfortable. The first stage of aging, lightning strikes. This does not require much of an explanation. Lightning can strike with respect to aging at any age, really. The reality is the lightning of aging is always striking, and it can strike you unexpectedly as something occurs in your life that brings it home. Lightning is not a bad thing. It is a moment of truth about how things are. And so this moment of lightning strikes is a personal moment when you realize you are not going to live forever. You may not even be healthy forever. You may not be able to count on anything. And in one sense, it is an experience of deep loss. But in another sense, it is an experience of a kind of gift. The gift of the first glimmers of wisdom, end quote. The second stage of aging is coming to terms. It's not enough just to have lightning strike. At that time, and for some time afterwards, we are disoriented. We do not quite know who we are or where we are, and we have to come to terms with what has happened. Coming to terms with reality means grappling with the fact that once lightning strikes, there are really two selves in your mind. The way you used to be and this new self. And for a long time, as you come to terms with aging, it is old self versus new self. The old self does not want to give up. The old self wants to go back. And there is no going back. The so-called old self is just a memory. And this new self is all there is. Part of coming to terms is a sense of regret. You have regrets. One of the things that aging brings that no younger person can fully understand is a sense of regret. We build a library of regrets. But those are not necessarily bad regrets. They're just the way it is. The third stage of aging is adaptation. Adaptation is when we have gone through the process of coming to terms, and we have made adjustments to be comfortable again with who we are as an older person. And of course, flexibility is the key. The fourth stage and final stage of aging is acceptance. Acceptance is when you have completely settled into your aging self as a kind of new home. True acceptance is understanding. This is my life. I have no other. That is so important because we are always thinking, is there some other thing I could do? Is there some other way to be? Did I miss this? Should I have done that? That kind of thinking follows us well into old age. And you can see that when we think that way, we have not yet come to full acceptance. When we can say with complete sincerity, this is my life, I have no other, then we have fully arrived, accepting our aging, the reality of it, end quote. So, I decided to look to the Eightfold Path, which is my tool where I look for everything, hoping that it would help me to age better and suffer less. So I'm going to give you a quick down and dirty reference to the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Hopefully you'll be curious about these things and you can read a little bit more. So here's a summary of the Four Noble Truths as conveyed by Zen teacher Sylvia Boorstein. The first noble truth. The Buddha said life is suffering. It is challenging for everyone. Our physical bodies, our relationships, all of our life circumstances are fragile and subject to change. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering, is the mind's struggle in response to challenge. Frequently, our inability to accept things as they are. The third noble truth, the end of suffering, a non-struggling, peaceful mind, is possible. And the fourth noble truth is that the program for ending suffering is the Eightfold Path. Now, the Buddha, to me, refreshingly approaches life and his philosophy by saying, this is true for me, but you need to go out and try this and discover this for yourself. And if it's not true for you, that's fine. So he at no point is saying, this is the answer to everything. He's just saying, this is what I discovered, and my belief is if you live this way, your suffering will decrease. So the Noble Eightfold Path is composed of 8 interconnected and interdependent elements. These are right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Now, this is not right as in right or wrong, but should be understood as wise or correct ways to live. I think the easiest example is to look at right speech, because I think all of us have had the occasion where we said something that was maybe not wise. So it's that kind of right and wrong. Teacher Bhikkhu Bodhi states, right view enables us to understand our starting point, our destination, and the successive landmarks as we pass as our life advances. The importance of right view can be gauged from the fact that our perspectives govern our attitudes, actions, and our whole orientation to existence. End quote. Of course, this has been true our whole lives, but as we age and proceed through the stages, right view is all. When our perspective is out of sync with reality, we suffer. When our self-view is distorted, this opens the gate to more suffering. If your view is right, then what follows logically on the path is that your intentions, speech, actions, efforts, mindfulness, and concentration will also be wise. So, this doesn't sound so hard, right? Well, the difficult part is understanding how our view must be constantly adjusted, since it so easily changes due to the reality of impermanence. The path becomes slippery with age. How I feel today will change, and does change constantly, requiring that I understand my view of things must also constantly change. This requires attention, an item that I find is much more difficult to access as I age. There is no magic here. Finding out what helps you to focus your attention more easily can decrease your suffering. The best sources are your own experiences, as well as the wisdom of your friends and teachers. Remember, we are always surrounded by teachers. Our interactions are ripe with wisdom. As we continue on the path, right speech, especially our internal dialogue, requires our attention. Language is important, and how we label things affects our journey down the path. Lewis Richmond uses the term elderhood instead of senior or old. He says, quote, elderhood has a specific meaning. It is not just the state of being old, but the state of being a guide to younger people and to the community. Or, to put it another way, elderhood means applying your life wisdom in service of others. Life wisdom is different from spiritual wisdom, because life wisdom is something you naturally acquire just by having lived a long time. You have experience, something that younger people, no matter how prescient they might be, do not really have. And every older person has some life wisdom that is unique to them, end quote. As we explore the path from an aging perspective, factors such as right action, right effort, right concentration, and right mindfulness require more energy. No surprise here, every action as we age is different from what it used to be like. We constantly have the companions of the before self and the after self. We have a choice to devote our precious resource of energy to feeding the before self or the after self. This is how the path is navigated, constantly checking in to verify your view, adjust, and proceed deliberately down the path. My days are structured differently as an elder. My lightning strike last year was a medical condition that leaves me easily depleted and has made my view and intentions different. Now, right action means adjusting my day to include time for a nap when needed. Instead of viewing this as a loss of productive time, it has become an opportunity to recharge and, depending on the day, shift some activity to later in the day or another day and just enjoy the nap. Acknowledging this reality has made me more understanding and compassionate with others, less likely to judge, and I have become kinder to myself too. If I pay close attention, I will recognize the need for right effort as I notice that I am restless or sleepy. By taking the right action to acknowledge this state, not trying to push through it, I am able to pull up the effort to change my view of whatever my mind has supplied as an unhealthy state. This is not easy and not always possible, but as with everything we practice, it becomes less difficult the more I make the effort. And most important down the path, right mindfulness, which is simply seeing and being with what is happening now and paying attention, whether we like what is happening or not. Teacher Norman Fisher says, quote, "We practice right mindfulness in the faith that through the practice we will come to see how our mind creates suffering and happiness. With mindfulness, it becomes hard to fool yourself, and a sense of gratitude and wisdom arise, along with a great tolerance and compassion for yourself and others." End quote. This brings us to factor 8, right concentration, composed of unbroken attentiveness and tranquility. How do we practice right concentration as we age? We need to weaken the hindrances, the things we tell ourselves. Things like desire, ill will, restlessness, dullness, and doubt. We need to do this through stilling the mind. And how we do that is through a meditation practice. Teacher Bradley Donaldson says, quote, "At the heart of concentration meditation is the practice of letting go of the chatter of the mind so the mind can come to rest," end quote. Remember, the path is always available to you. As the straw man said in The Wizard of Oz, it is best to start at the beginning. So straighten out your view, clarify your intentions, focus on your conduct by considering your speech and actions, then apply energy and mindfulness to cultivate concentration and insight. Like anything else we learn, the rest is practice. Decreasing your suffering is the fruit of the path, with the only requirements being to start and continue. And as an elder, Apply the life wisdom around you and within you to support others and yourself as you journey on the path of aging. Thank you. Any questions? I have no answers.
You stated that there was, I always thought Zen and Buddhism, I put it together.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell me what the difference is, and if I shouldn't put that together in my mind?
Well, they're like any other religion or philosophy. Zen Buddhism has a million different sects. Thank you. S-E-C-T-S. Clarify. Right speech is very, very important. Right. So Zen, there is something called Zen Buddhism, but there's also something called Zen meditation. A lot of people are reluctant to come to Zen meditation because of what you're saying, Ivy. They feel like, well, I need to become a Buddhist to do Zen meditation. It's just a tool. My teacher was a Sister of Mercy, a nun for 70 years. Her teacher was and is a Jesuit priest. So it's that's the beauty of the practice. It can enhance your own spiritual beliefs without asking you to give something up.
But when you talked about the Eightfold
Path.
folks at the Four
Noble Truths.
In my head, I always attributed that to Buddhism.
Absolutely, it is, and that's Zen borrows. I mean, our roots are in Buddhism, but that doesn't mean you have to be a Buddhist to meditate. And Zen is a particular type of meditation, in that we follow the breath. Other types of meditation, people have mantras, people have all kinds of different ways to meditate, and nothing is wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. But in Zen, we always go back to the breath. Huh?
What does the word Zen mean?
It really means doing what you're doing and doing nothing else. So if I'm doing the dishes, I should be doing the dishes. I shouldn't.
You're robbing the bank?
You should rob the bank. You should just do what you're doing. And we all know how difficult that is. Because up here, we're thinking about yesterday, we're thinking about tomorrow, we're thinking about anything but right now.
We have a list in our head.
Yes. If we're lucky, we have a list. Most of the time, it's just all jumbled up.
So Zen and mindfulness are cousins.
Absolutely. Yeah. Zen and mindfulness are cousins. Because it's all about training your mind to be with what you're doing. It's so hard. You're talking to somebody and you're thinking about what you're going to say. Are you really listening? That's Zen. Bonnie.
When I was studying for my master's in creation spirituality, one of the religions we studied was Buddhism, and there was a part of that was in the book about Buddhist activists. So some people had, and including myself, had a little bit of difficulty trying to decide if you are supposed to just be meditating and be peaceful and everything. How can you be an activist? Can you comment on that?
Well, the group that my foundation is with was out of Japan, and Mayuzumi Roshi came here, I think, in the 70s, and trained teachers in California, of course, Los Angeles and San Francisco. And one of the teachers he trained was a man called Bernie Glassman, who was a Jewish engineer from the Bronx. And when he finished his training and he came back to New York, he decided to start a group called the Zen Peacemakers, just to address that issue. Because he did not see that Zen meditation needed to just be done on the cushion. And there was a lot of controversy about it, and a lot of people were not comfortable with that. But that's where he took it. And it is a whole different way to take your practice. It's about bearing witness, and it's about recognizing the most important thing, not knowing. When something happens, that the first thing we should do is to say to ourselves, I don't know. I don't have enough information. And then bear witness, and then the Zen peacemakers believe that the action will come to you, the appropriate action. So I find it a very enriching, it's enriching for my practice, but not everybody embraces that.
Are Hinduism and Buddhism related?
Only that they came out of India. The connection between Hinduism and Buddhism. You know, there was a lot of stuff going on in India at that time. So I think there are connections. There's certainly a lot of cross beliefs.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I've been exposed more. I've been lucky to be exposed to Hindu, some of their beliefs, and they seem very, very in line. They're kind of melding with other Zen beliefs. And I guess a lot of the Middle Eastern or Eastern
Yes.
beliefs.
Mm-hmm. There's so much wisdom. I mean, it started in India, and then it went to China, and then it went to Japan, Buddhism. That was the track. And of course, we're the last to embrace it here. We're trying. Let me go with Sandy.
Yeah, to Bonnie's question, Bhikkhu Bodhi is one of those who advocates for getting off of the cushion and taking, it starts with the self, but also to bring it to the larger community. And he started a group called Buddhist Global Relief that does actions all over the world, and I can give you some more information afterwards.
You have something, Ivy?
Yeah, Buddhism has always appealed to me. And one of the reasons it appeals to me, which almost some people could say is depressing, is the first noble truth life
Is suffering.
And some people could see that as depressing, but I've always believed you're going to die. No matter who you are, you're going to die, and people you love are going to die. That's suffering in itself. In my head, I have a dichotomy that I'm wondering if you can push together. Part of me loves Buddhism, and you said the acceptance of reality, right? Importance. Look at reality. If you have leukemia, you have leukemia. If you have diverticulitis, you have diverticulitis. If you have a broken ankle, you have a broken ankle. Accepting it, okay? And the opposite theory, I see it as opposite of, I'm going to call it manifestation. It has another fancy name, is what is it called? Quantum physics. But it has a lot of different names, which is, if I have diverticulitis, I'm going to deny I have diverticulitis, and I'm going to heal myself of my diverticulitis by thinking positive, because it's my mind. If I'm in an unhappy marriage, I'm not going to acknowledge I'm in an unhappy marriage. I'm going to say, no, I'm in a very happy marriage and I'm so happy and I love to go home. I see that those two philosophies are separate, and I see good points in each, and I struggle with it. Any comments?
I would just respond the way the Buddha would respond.
Yeah.
He would say, you know, you need to experience for yourself, try for yourself, and see what makes sense to you. Because certainly, for some people, the second set of beliefs make sense, but for other people it doesn't. So that's what I like about Buddhism, is there isn't any right and wrong. It's whatever works for you. And that doesn't make it easy. It puts the responsibility on you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to go there. They'd rather say, just give me the list of things I need to do, please.
I was taught, again, by the same person, his name was Pradeep, and he gave me some gifts the last year he was alive, and one of them was, and I try to remember them, is that nothing's permanent, and nothing you own is yours. You're just using these things, and it's our own interpretation of life that gets in our own way sometimes, and that going to be aging, it is a part of life, and not being jealous of other living things, because in the end, it's all one circle and cycle, and being mindful, which I try very hard.
That's a very good point. I mean, one of the big foundational beliefs, of course, is interdependence, and which fits in very well with Sunday and our environmental work, because we are all connected. We're not only connected, we cannot be here without each other. So I think that's a good segue for Barbara and Tom and Peggy to. Are there any questions online? I didn't mean to ignore you guys. Comments? Thank you for your time.